topic. So as far as the housing is concerned, so we understand it very well, because at one point in those massive urban land servicing program, because they say these things take long, right? Because remember, after you apply and you get land, it must go to NAPAP, it must go to Township Board, it must go to the minister. All those things were happening in one meeting. We had someone NAPAP, Township Board, and all those things in those committees. And then we were sitting and say, aha, so it can be done. Okay? So we have an idea. So what we want to do in Windhoek, we want to set ourselves a target of 76,500 housing units. So we are having a series of specific intervention, because we're not just saying mass housing, because we have seen that those things are not going to work. So there must be multifaceted strategies to address the housing question. So what we want to do firstly in housing, we want to have municipality direct housing initiative of 50,000. Okay, remember the land is ours. And then we have established what we are called city construction and household services. Okay? So what we then do, we go and build houses, not this thing that is happening in Oshakati. I mean, because again, Namibians don't have tactical sophistication. New Era ran a front page that President Geingob disburses 1,000 what houses. How do you give me a house that I bought with a loan from the bank? Then everybody is reading all this nonsense in our country, that the president has given houses, 1,000 houses distributed. Distributed to who? When you distribute, you have sweets. Like you call your children, you take your sweets from your pocket and you give them. So for you, you can only give something that you have. Those people, they've taken loans out. He could have maybe given the plots, because those plots were serviced under the massive urban land servicing program, our program. Just go read our agreement and our AR Housing Charter 31. But we are in a country of gullible people, where a front page newspaper says that 1,000 houses have been distributed. Oh, government is working. You can't give me my house that I bought. I'm going to be paying it for the next 20 years. But it can only happen in a gullible country. So what we want to do is that the municipality must actually, practically, build 50,000 houses. So we are just going out there, excavating land, building, and then you can give those houses, just like Water Energy. Remember what we say we are doing. You own the land, you have the resource. Since you have the land, the bank can give you money, isn't it? We have seen. Because when the municipality gives land, people go and get money from the bank. So we tell the banks and everybody, including GIPF, and say, Chief, we have the land. Can you please give me money to build 50,000 houses? I already have the land. Why would GIPF or municipality and anybody? They actually give intermediaries, middlemen. Dee was talking about antagonistic forces. Antagonistic forces can be understood together with what is called the motive forces. The motive forces are those that are going to benefit from a particular revolutionary program. Yeah? So the motive forces will be you that is struggling. But an antagonistic force would be that person who is going to be disadvantaged by you gaining. So in other words, the developer, who are this First Capital and all those guys that are funding, because now the municipality will be the one that are funding. Those are going to be the antagonistic forces. So the municipality must engage in houses directly. The University of Namibia main campus, for example, 90% of the student population lives outside. NUST probably accommodates only 10 or 20% of the student population. Our students are all over, scattered, renting all over the place. So we can't just go and have an approach to housing and say, we are servicing land and we are having houses. We must think about a student who's unable to buy a house and buy a plot. What do we do to that student? Yeah? So we can't have that one size fit all. So what we want to do is to build a 10,000 bed student village that is owned by the municipality. So what should happen is that if you are in Keetmanshoop and your child is admitted at IUM or at UNAM, you simply just pay and apply to the municipality. Just the way, I mean, people in Keetmanshoop apply to UNAM and they're in Keetmanshoop. The same way you are applying to UNAM, you are also applying to the municipality for your child. So you give your child into the care of the municipality. So why is it that in this country, we have buses that transport people who have money? The buses that transport people to work. But we don't have buses that transport students. You see, we really have a messed up system. Eh? We don't have a bus that, say, from UNAM to this place, it's strategic point. Of course, they do it in the afternoon to pick up, but again, most of those people will be the workers. Or the argument will be made to say, but students are not prohibited. You can just have a specific bus that is dedicated for students. Maybe you can put Wi-Fi in there. But the point that we are saying is that we are establishing a 10,000 bed student village. I mean, we have the land already. Yeah? If this money that is needed, it's been proven that once you have the land, you can get the money. So students are already there, and students are always going to be there. So we build this facility, students are accommodated, and students will be the motive forces because they are the ones who are going to be benefiting. And who are going to be the antagonistic forces is you. Because if you are saying you are running a revolutionary program, it can never be a revolutionary program if it's not opposed. It can only be a revolutionary program because you are turning the tables. Who was God becomes dog, and who was dog becomes God. So those of you that have outside the room, that can you imagine? A person goes to an architect, and then they build their houses, né? And they build their houses in such a way and say, yeah, I want, telling the architect. Né? Sometimes you shockingly see it in the design. One architect showed me, in the planning is written student room. That person doesn't have students. In the design, they're already planning for students to accommodate them, make money from them. I'll just put 5 or 6 students there. Then everything is fine. So those ones tend to be the antagonistic forces because they tend not to benefit from that. But the other thing that we want to do is also that, you know, there are some people who just have their own money. That is why we have suggested this to GAINCOP. It's on page 42 or 43 of Harambee Prosperity. Between page 42 and 46 of Harambee's Prosperity Plan, you find what is called a pre-allocation of land. Okay? But of course, they've never done anything to it because the antagonistic forces tends to be at the disadvantage. What pre-allocation means is that you take virgin land, you bring in the engineers, né? You bring in the engineers, then the engineers do a lot of planning and say how many plots are there. There is nothing on the land. Then you say there is this land that is available there. How we want to do pre-allocation is to say that you simply just come, and we're probably going to do a lot or whatever method it is. We give you the land before it's even serviced and built. So then you make a contribution towards the servicing of it. Maybe you can service it yourself. Yeah? So you give the land, you allocate the land, because now what the municipality does in the current thinking is that they wait for the servicing. If it's after Vision 2030 or whatever, like that's why Korea is standing. So they only allocate service land. We want just to give you land there. For as long as you are going to adhere to the municipal standards and all those things that have to happen, we can give you land. And we give you the letter. Then you go and look for funding and do whatever it is that you want to do. But why is it that we must hold you hostage? Now, remember what we said. We said that we are going to have those 3,000 security guards as part of city securities. So, and then we are going to reopen Ramatex as massive absorption. So all those guys that are going to be recruited, and we're not going to take chances. Immediately when you're recruited, when you are signing the contract of employment, we're going to say to you, we are going to take a portion of your salary. If you don't have a house, we are going to be taking a portion of your salary, and we are going to be contributing towards a particular fund. It's automatic, okay? And then, once you are part of that, there is going to be municipal workers housing program, 5,000 of it. So that housing program just for municipality employees. They are going to be funding it because they work for the municipality, and of course we top up as a municipality because it's your worker. Okay? So, and probably those are going to be one of the first clients of the building society, of the city building society. So those of you that are working for the municipality, those programs are going to come, and that's what we want to do. But there must also be municipality-owned houses. Some people are coming to work to Windhoek only for 6 months. They don't necessarily want a house in Windhoek. But they also don't want to be exploited by rich landlords. Yeah? So they must go to a place where they just pay a minimum fee. It's happening in a country such as Zimbabwe. Say what you want, study the housing situation in Zimbabwe. And then you go and find out exactly what is happening there. Okay? Now, why is it that it's difficult for our experience in those informal settlements? Our people don't have a problem with moving and all those things. So what we are going to be doing probably immediately, the first month when we take over, we'll ask Ndetunga to give us his helicopter. We're simply just going to fly over there with an architect. We're going to fly over all those informal settlements just to see the landscape.